July 6th, 2021. The City Council for the City of Woodland is now in session. We will move along to the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me see who I would ask to do this. Jay Kimura, co-host, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Sure, no problem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jay. Jay is our technical coordinator. Excuse me 1 minute while I turn off microphones on the dais. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We have to accommodate technical things here, and microphones are all on, which is why my voice was echoing. All right, so with Pledge of Allegiance completed, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
Present.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena.
Present.
Councilmember Landsberg.
Present.
Mayor Stallard.
Present. Madam Clerk, we are now moving along to communications and public comment. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the council on matters not otherwise on the agenda this evening?
I do have one gentleman raising his hand.
All right, please proceed.
Tom, go ahead.
Whoever's commenting, could you identify yourself?
Gentleman's name is Tom.
All right. Are you muted, Tom?
Can you hear me now, Tom?
Tom, you're muted.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
My name is Tom Crumpacker. I'm here with Felipe Barajas. We both live near Campbell Park. Felipe lives on Dodds and Colette, and I live on Thomas Street, 645 Thomas Street. And we are experiencing an incredible amount of high speeding in our location. I live two doors down from the intersection of Colette and Thomas, and the stop signs are on Colette, and Thomas is a through street, but the problem is there's an incredible dip there. We believe that there should be a four-way stop there, and we believe that there should be speed bumps further down on Thomas, and there should be speed bumps down further on Colette on the east side of Thomas Street because of the incredible number of people that are speeding now. Every week and a half, we have people spinning donuts in the intersection. I would say at least 40, 50 times a week, we have people doing it in a neighborhood of 65, 70 miles an hour down our streets. And that's not an exaggeration. A few years ago, I had a pickup total and another car damaged because a person came through the dip coming what would be north on Thomas Street through the dip and hit my pickup and totaled it. It was a hit and run. Fortunately, the person came back because his older brother made him and damaged my pickup to the point that it was totaled and another vehicle. The other day, about a week and a half ago, we had a chase through there in which a guy came through in a U-Haul truck where he was airborne. And fortunately, he hit his brakes a little bit or he would have hit a father and a little son on the corner. And just the other day, there was a guy coming through in a moving van. It was about half a semi. He didn't notice the dip, didn't slow down at all. He bounced through the dip so hard that I came out. He had parts laying on the road, and he stalled his vehicle in front of the bathrooms over on Thomas Street at Campbell Park. And we have a serious problem. I'm fearful that we're going to lose somebody. And I don't know what Felipe
I-
wants to say, but he can echo things.
Hi, everybody. My name is Felipe Barajas. I do live on I live 650 Dodds Drive. That's where I stay. We've been having this problem for a long time now. And, I have maybe 10 or more. I mean, the whole neighborhood has been talking about this. And we like to see something, maybe some speed humps or something installed around the perimeter of the park. It's just, I have a family. I have two boys, and I'm always worried about them when they're riding their bikes or something, because they're always speeding. We just want some help. Because like I said, Tom was saying, it's pretty bad. And, that's why we're here talking to you guys right now. So yeah, that's pretty much, we wanted to come down and we want to get our concerns out to you guys and kind of get it out there to see what we can do about this. That's kind of where we stand right now. We appreciate you guys' time. We really want to see something. There's too much speeding there. It's gone too far, and nothing's been done. I know for a fact if there's speed bumps that were installed around the perimeter of the park, which is Colette, and then on the Thomas side,
Further down.
and
Thomas.
further down or so, that would just cut out all the speeding. There wouldn't be, that would just cut, a lot of what's going on. But yeah.
The other thing is that Thomas Street is a exit for the county fair when the county fair is in session. And they only allow vehicles to proceed north on Thomas Street or turn right on what is Gum Avenue. And most of them come through Thomas. So if we had a four-way stop there, it would help because most people don't notice the dip sign. It's too far back. And as a result, they hit that intersection and you won't believe the number of parts that are laying out in that street weekly from people. And then we have people accelerating after they go through the dip. And by the time they get down to Oak Avenue, 65, 70 miles an hour is not unheard of. It's very common. And it's especially with these vehicles that people are hopping up and, with the loud exhaust and stuff there, they seem to want to rev it up more. And I don't know what you folks can do.
Well, Tom and Felipe, I want to thank you both for taking the trouble to communicate with us. Both these gentlemen were standing in front of City Hall this evening when I came, so they're talking on their cell phone from the front of City Hall. We'll be hoping to be back in person sometime, maybe in September. But I thank you for taking the time to call in and to describe this problem. Unfortunately, this kind of problem is going on in many places in the community, but there is a process for working through to meet this need. I gave you my card. You can email me, and I will forward the email to Vicky Fernandez, who represents the Campbell Park neighborhood, I believe. And perhaps we can help you connect with what the process is to get something going. All right, gentlemen? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stallard.
To everybody, please. Okay. Madam Clerk, any other public comments tonight?
I do have one short email to read.
Please proceed.
Thank you. The problem with the bay for the bus at Pioneer Avenue after 5 years is there. No way to see the sideway in nighttime. No light to see it. Will this problem resolved before the second coming of Jesus? 801 East Street, Manuel Candela Casado.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
All right. I would respectfully suggest we refer that email, just forward it to Jose Perez at the Yolo County Transportation District for potential action. All right. I represent this council at that district. I'll make sure something happens. So you can copy me as well, please. Additional public comment tonight?
No,
Okay.
none.
All right. Thank you. Well, that brings us to council communications and staff requests. And Council Member Landsberg, would you like to lead off tonight?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, thank you. been a busy last 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks now, and
Yeah.
a lot of things going on in the community. But I just want to highlight a couple of things, Mr. Mayor. One was had the pleasure of attending the Bee City presentation on June 24th with our mayor presenting a proclamation along with my colleagues on the council. And it was great to see the city recognized for its efforts in maintaining bee populations and protecting bees as critical to plants that need pollination to grow our food. I want to also point out and thank the local companies who were there with their honey products, showing off, especially showing off their 150th logo. And then last week, Mr. Mayor, I had the pleasure of seeing the Clydesdales walking down East Street and Main Street. It was good to see the number of folks who turned out for the demonstration, even though it was a beer truck. It was certainly certainly something to see and to enjoy as they went down East Street and Main Street. It was a great time. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, this week, besides my regular assignments, which keep me quite busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Landsberg. Mayor Pro Tem Myra Vega.
Thank you, Mayor Stallard. It has been quite a busy, all good stuff past 3 weeks. So last Friday, I had the opportunity to speak to the cohort of Summer at City Hall. It was a pleasure meeting with the young folks. I understand that they got a chance to meet maybe most of you, if not all of you, and our colleagues over in the school district. It was very refreshing to hear them. A little quiet at first, but I did get them talking. They expressed a need to address some of the mental health issues that are happening among young people. You know, there's just a feeling of despair when the topic of mental health, you know, between schools not having the resources and then maybe not at home being able to have any support system. One of the young women that spoke to me asked, you know, what are we doing to address holistically the mental health needs? Additionally, they were very curious about how we are helping community members who can't afford health care, right, who don't have access to basic primary care. So I was very impressed how in tune they are with their community, and just saddened that at this stage in their young lives, this is what they're having to worry about. I did get one request, and City Manager Hyatt, this will be something that'll sound familiar to you. I have an opportunity for an internship, for a longer internship program. So that would continue this very rich experience that they're having, and maybe not as we wouldn't take on all of the cohorts, but developing some type of internship program to allow them to continue to develop and learn more about civic engagement here locally. Additionally, I had the pleasure of taking my family out to First Friday, and it was very exciting to see folks out, seeing some live music out. I can sense the feeling of community happening out there. I look forward to the one next month, and I hope all of our residents get an opportunity to go out there. There just seems to be a lot of joy, and I think we're all ready to build community. So that'll be on Mayor Stallard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Myra Vega. Council Member Vicky Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor Stallard. I just want to thank a few people. As Councilmember Landsberg mentioned, our Bee City USA Pollinator Ecosystem Appreciation. I want to thank our staff member Stephanie Burgos for organizing the collaboration between all the different entities who organized that event. It was a nice afternoon out there in our edible learning garden. So thank you, Stephanie, for organizing that. Also, as Mayor Pro Tem Vega mentioned, I attended on Wednesday to, the Summer at City Hall. So I want to thank Eric Buckler, or I'm probably mispronouncing his name, for organizing our visit and being able to give a presentation to our young upcoming leaders of the city of Woodland. Also, a couple of questions that were brought up that I maybe would like to repeat to our city manager is the concern about our meetings continuing with a hybrid or virtual model. They were asking if that would continue after we went back to live in-person meetings. They thought that that was beneficial for community engagement. So just want to I told them I would follow up with them. I know that there has been some talk about trying to continue using the ability to have virtual access for our community. So would like to follow up with that. And then, and that was by Jessica. And then Lily also brought up the need for childcare for teen moms, which I hadn't really thought about it. We've been discussing the need for childcare in our community, but also she brought up the need for young teen moms who are kind of caught in the middle of not being eligible for childcare. And so there's a need out there that I need to maybe follow up and examine to see how we can maybe help our teen moms out in our community that are in need of childcare also. Want to thank the Community Service Department, Christine Engel, for organizing all our 4th of July activities. Lots of fun things going on. It was busy on June 26th when I was out at the farmers market, people coming in for their Woodland 1871 t-shirts and their chalk for the chalk and roll. And so thank you for organizing that. The fire department for their pancake breakfast and the antique fire truck parade. So thank you for all the hard work that our community was able to enjoy due to the work of our staff. So thank you. And then Public Safety Committee, I want to thank Chief Caff for having the time with Councilmember Lounsberg and myself and some of the innovative things that are coming up within our city, and also examining the issue of gun violence in our community, which was a topic of interest that I think is affecting many of our community members. So thank you, Chief Caff, for that meeting and that information. And just want to remind our community members that July 9th is the final deadline for application for the Redistricting Advisory Commission. So please, if you're interested, make sure to get your applications in. Your help is needed in the process. So just a quick reminder. And also just want to echo that there have been other complaints from District 4 residents regarding the Thomas and Colette area. So I had mentioned in the past couple of weeks, I received several emails from community residents in that area, and it mentioned to our city manager, Ken Hyatt, about scheduling a meeting with community members and perhaps our police chief, Caff, or discussing neighborhood watch out in that area. So, or traffic personnel that can maybe help us address some of the very serious concerns that many of the residents have out there. So I know that we did discuss that a couple of weeks ago, Ken. So maybe if we can follow up with some sort of public town hall kind of meeting, whether it's at the Campbell Park, outside, outdoors, or maybe something that will kind of let the residents know that we are trying to address the issues and we've heard their concerns. So that will be all for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Vicky Fernandez. Councilmember Tanya Garcia Cadena.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just hope that everyone enjoyed their long weekend and all the events that happened this over the course of the weekend. I was out at First Friday. I saw a couple of my colleagues out there. It was really nice to see so many people out, and the businesses have started bringing in, well, we had some new businesses that were just opening, so that was really nice. And then the pancake breakfast, of course, was well attended. So I'm glad that they decided to go forward with that and offer vaccines as well. I appreciate the firefighters offering vaccines during First Friday and at the pancake breakfast. I think the more opportunities we have, the better. Also, Healthy YOLO Together has started offering saliva testing at the Hansen Clinic, and they started that today. So if people want to get vaccinated or get tested, it's a good time to go over there and get that done. Doesn't take long. I went and witnessed the process, and they have it down. So it doesn't take long at all. You can be in and out in 10 minutes and have your results quickly. I also wanted to let people know that there's going to be an event called Better Together Serving Woodland. It's going to be held Saturday, July 24th in the Heritage Plaza. There's going to be free concerts, vendors, food trucks, local speakers, and it's a community resource fair that's going to be taking place. So it's an all-day event, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and it looks like people can stop in at any time. So I encourage people to go out there and see what's available. They're really reaching out and trying to pull in a lot of community resources for people. So that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia Cadena. All right, for myself, I just want to mention a few things. First of all, regarding fireworks, community concerns are growing as Woodland sounds more like a war zone. And this year, we even had someone fired a .22 rifle into the air and a bullet landed on a foot of somebody on my back fence neighbor, and he had to have surgery for that. This isn't acceptable. We need to find solutions. Sacramento has a program that resulted in 87 citations issued at $1,000 per citation, simply because these things were taking off on people's property. So I've asked our police chief and our fire chief to look at alternatives and to bring a recommendation back to us what we can do. This isn't to suggest that we'll eliminate this problem altogether, but hopefully we can at least reduce the growing scope. Second item, regarding our commissions, I'm asking the staff to agendize a discussion on our commissions. Recent concerns over staff decisions to remove mature city trees without public input suggest that we need to reestablish a city tree commission. Meanwhile, the Building Appeals Board has not met in years. Also, the policy prohibiting serving on more than one commission makes no sense. And the policy of requiring agendized requests for absences by commissioners is needlessly burdensome. So please, staff, bring that item back to us. Third, the Commission on Aging has been almost totally reconstituted by our recent appointments. The members are holding a meet and greet on July 22nd at 11:30 at the Community and Senior Center. I hope anyone interested in that commission will feel free to drop by. They would love to have a council member liaison. So please think about whether you would be willing to do that, colleagues. A fourth item, the Bee City event was terrific. I thank my colleagues for reading the proclamation together. I thought we truly were singing from the same song sheet, but it was a happy event and a good time. Fifth item, the Pride Day event at Woodland Community College was a success. And we all want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Vega for representing our council and presenting the adopted resolution. Sixth, social media comments regarding our water system show that many in our city understand and appreciate the wonderful treated river water system that we now have in Woodland. It's very affirming. Seventh item, September 22 to 24 are the dates for the League of California Cities annual meeting to be held in the newly refurbished and expanded Sacramento Convention Center. And if you're interested, council colleagues, sign up with Jen Robinson. Final item is State of the City. That's the annual address that's sponsored by the City of Woodland and the Woodland Chamber of Commerce. Will be held on Wednesday, July 14th from 12 to 1:30. We would like to have all the council participate in this delivering of the State of the City. So if you have the availability, we'd love to have you. If you can't, let me know. It will be a Zoom event primarily, but you can Zoom from home or you can join me at City Hall as you wish. They intend to ask questions of all of us individually and collectively, so your presence would be appreciated. And now for the Mayor's Minute. Thanks to all who helped make July 4th such a wonderful Independence Day for our city. The Woodland professional firefighters fed pancakes to hundreds and hundreds of our residents. It was just plain fun. Thanks also to our Community Services Department, which participated by distributing commemorative red, white, and blue t-shirts sponsored bike decorating and chalk drawing competitions, and more. And also thank you to the support branch. They're the ones that maintain our antique fire trucks. They drove them all over the town. According to their president, Tim Brannigan, they stopped for every kid sitting on a curb. But amidst all this joy, there is a dark side as well. And that is the continued growth of illegal fireworks being set off over a period of several days. No doubt those engaged in such activity find it fun, but there are consequences for others which vary from disturbing and troubling to frightening and distressing. One lady wrote me of the mental upset this causes her and her husband. It did sound like a war zone on the evening of July 4th. Other communities are taking steps to get this behavior under control. Woodland should examine the options and follow suit. Mr. Manager, again, please bring something back to us so we can consider our options. And now for the city manager's input.
Great, thanks, Mayor, members of the council. Excellent reports. I'll just focus on, again, reiterating that thanks to public safety staff and community services staff that went over and above to provide not just a safe experience this 4th of July holiday, but added value and put in extra time and effort to make sure that happened. But certainly it does not go without note that, we continue to see elevated, community impacts associated with use of illegal fireworks. We've already initiated some analysis with our public safety chiefs of the Sacramento as well as Folsom ordinances that went into effect this year to try to establish a citation process. So we will be carefully analyzing the impact of those ordinances and be bringing forward to the council soon after the council recess, some options for us to explore so we're in place before next 4th of July. Looking forward to upcoming long-range calendar items. Next meeting, July 20th, will be the last meeting of the council before the summer recess. On that agenda, currently, we will have the appointment of the members of the Redistricting Advisory Commission. So again, as Councilmember Fernandez noted, that application period does close on the 9th. So those that are interested in applying, please do so before the 9th. And we'll be preparing a presentation and action for the council to appoint that commission and then outline the process that commission will be tasked with to bring forward new district maps for council consideration. We will also have annual CDBG 2021-22 annual action plan presented to council, as well as a zoning amendment item for the downtown specific plan with a request for consideration of opening up a wine bar on a portion of the downtown specific plan that currently does not permit those. Went to Planning Commission last week on a favorable recommendation. We'll be bringing that forward to the council on the 20th. And then recess will occur the 21st of July through August 16th. We'll resume back with the council on the 17th in a hybrid format. So we will have the council in person here in the council chambers, as well as a hybrid format for the public and council should they want to participate remotely. So we worked with the IT staff to ensure we can deliver that hybrid format seamlessly. So look forward to that after a long operation remotely. Also, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we will be agendizing a discussion with the council that will outline a plan to bring forward the second pool project. We'll have a funding plan and a process to finalize the scope of that project. I'll be working with the council subcommittee, infrastructure subcommittee to evaluate prior efforts around the scope of the pool and bring their thoughts and recommendations on how to proceed on that pool as part of that item. And then also we'll be agendizing a review of the council's strategic goals and actions from your retreat earlier this year. Want to offer the council an update of how we're tracking. We'll be outlining some metrics that we put together to help track performance and progress towards those goals and highlight some of the important initiatives that came out of that retreat that we've made progress on or will be initiating shortly thereafter. Then to the mayor's comment regarding commissions, we will be putting together a commission item for the 7th of September to review the commissions that currently have had little activity or potentially need to be considered for a new scope, and incorporating into that discussion the tree commission that was referenced. So that concludes my remarks, and back to you, Mr. Mayor.
You're on mute, Mayor Stollard.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Pro Tem Vega. I need the help. Thank you, Mr. Manager. We now proceed to item F on our agenda, the consent calendar, items 2 through 8. Is there any item on the consent calendar that any member of the council wishes to remove for independent discussion, or we can take comments, of course, if it's just a comment? Okay, I'm not hearing any indication of a desire to do so. So it'd be appropriate then to have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Thank you. That was a motion by Tanya Garcia Cadena, and there was a second by Vicky.
Right, Fernandez.
A second by Council Member Vicky Fernandez. Thank you. Further discussion on any of this or comment? There being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena,
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg,
Aye.
Mayor Stallard.
Aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
colleagues. That concludes the consent calendar. That brings us to the reports of the city manager, and we only have 2 remaining items. The first is item 9, a new City of Woodland logo and brand. City manager, will you introduce the item, please?
Yeah, I'll set the stage here and turn it over to Spencer Bowen, our new communications manager. I think as the council is aware, the city operates with, at any given time, 2 or 3 different standard logos that will appear on websites, letterheads, city vehicles, things like that. It has been, I think, a conversation with the council around, do we have a single consistent logo? And should we go through a process to establish kind of a new brand or a more consistent brand? And so 2 opportunities presented itself, one being the 150 celebration for the community, as well as our new communications manager. So I tasked him with evaluating this issue and presenting to the council a recommendation to initiate a process to evaluate and develop ultimately a new brand, a new logo for the city, with the goal of having that new brand and logo adopted before the end of the year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bowen, have him walk you through the recommendation, and welcome council input and feedback before we move forward.
Good evening, Spencer.
Good evening, Mayor Stollard and council. Thanks for hearing our brief presentation on this topic. And just to reiterate, the staff report on this for any members of the public or for council is actually pretty in-depth for down the road. Once we sort of select a designer and are deeper in the process. Tonight, we're hoping to touch base and just sort of get the ball rolling on this. As Ken mentioned, our brand, our look is disjointed and not modern. This is just a sampling of official logos the city uses on stuff. It's not even counting the one behind Mayor Stollard on the dais in the council chambers. So we're badly in need of consistency. There it is, a live look. And as Manager Hyatt pointed out, we're badly in need of more consistency. We're also badly in need of a modernized brand that works across different deployments, whether it's virtual, digital, physical on the side of a truck, something like that. So I wanted to pull out some of the key points from the staff report tonight. But overall, just as a summary, what the report recommends from myself and other staff members is that council kind of gives staff the blessing to move forward with a request for qualifications from artists and designers. And it outlines some things you might consider in their track record and their portfolio when selecting, and then goes further with some suggestions about what we might be looking for from said designers. But really tonight, we're looking to just start the process of soliciting submissions from local folks and designers to get the ball rolling on something new for the city. And finally, before I dive into a short slide presentation, want to reiterate, we'd hope to do this kind of by the end of the calendar year, the start of 2022. These are merely suggestions that for some themes that a new brand and logo might capitalize on. You'll note in the staff report that we're recommending after the request for qualifications issued, the establishment of an ad hoc committee with interested staff and or council members to evaluate submissions. And then once we select a designer or artist, work with them directly, hand in glove, to develop something that's the right fit for Woodland. Themes that came to the fore in discussions here with staff and City Hall were Woodland's rich historical and cultural heritage, a diverse cultural heritage, also a phrase that came to the front, our history of innovation and sustainability, particularly, as you might guess, in the ag and food economy and history. So this is by no means an ironclad thing, just an idea of some of the themes that seem to be rising to the top and some suggestions for the ad hoc committee should council decide to recommend that. One thing I do want to just call out specifically is the importance of bringing a brand identity to the city that is modern and flexible and that we can use as we begin to build out a more agile, proactive communications apparatus. One thing we need the logo to work well in is online and digital deployment. I'm of the opinion that none of our current looks do that very well. And we need to be better as people are, we need to meet people where they're consuming their news, where they're getting their information. And as you know, that's increasingly not on printed materials, but we do need it for printed materials too. We still have business cards. We still write memos. We still submit letters of support and opposition in the state legislature, just to name a few. And finally, and for some people, most importantly, we need a look that looks good on the physical infrastructure, the nuts and bolts of local government that people look to, like a public works truck or even a trash can, things as simple as that. We need to make sure we're putting out a consistent, brand that people can look to and associate immediately with, hey, that's the city of Woodland, doing the basic stuff that we look to local government to do. Again, there's a lot more info in that staff report, stuff that won't be super applicable until the point in which we're working with a designer. But at that point, I'm happy to end my presentation and take any questions you might have, Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. Colleagues, do you have questions on this issue? I see Councilmember Fernandez has a question. Please proceed, Vicki.
Yes, Spencer, just a quick question about financial cost. How feasible or how costly is a change of brand logo to the city of Woodland? Because it would incorporate, I assume, every department and every item that has a city logo. So
absolutely. Councilmember Fernandez, great question, and thank you for raising that. The financial impact quoted in the staff report is focused solely on the development and design process. We don't have any illusions about how easy it's going to be to roll out a new brand across, generations of cars and trucks and, physical materials and stuff like that. That's a long process, and we should be honest with ourselves about that. But, City Manager Hyatt and myself believe if we get something in place around the turn of the calendar year, then we can start, with the newly created communications position, we can start identifying the key places and knocking those out bit by bit. That is a big undertaking, and it'll be slow and somewhat frustrating, but we think we can, feasibly and pretty affordably get to the place where we arrive at a brand that we have, that we can roll out in some of the easier things like digital and smaller scale stuff, and then slowly start working with things such as wrapping a truck or a city vehicle with a new look. It's going to take a while. It's slow, but some of that stuff is built into our normal processes anyway, and we want to identify those strategic opportunities. For example, we have opportunities regularly to replace a vehicle or identify regular maintenance. We want to seize those opportunities, working department by department once we have a brand to say, hey, while we're doing this, let's refresh the brand. So that'll be a longer road, certainly. Does that answer your question?
Not, well, in a roundabout way, but I'm looking for like a number. Is there around, about some sort of number that we are looking at, that we think it will cost us to accomplish this goal?
Well, staff has yet to estimate a number on the physical rollout of a new brand across all city apparatuses. That's a long analysis. The number quoted in the staff report is a range that, depending on how many rounds of revisions, depending on if we're working with a firm or an individual designer, we believe is a reasonable number to set aside for a contract with the designer.
I'll just add that as we zero in and come back to council with a final recommendation on what the new logo brand will look like, we'll outline and what the priority of implementation would look like and what the associated costs of those will be. So the council can make that decision to make this transition with eyes wide open as to what the financial ramifications would be. So. But again, I think as Spencer pointed out, our focus, I believe, will be largely around the digital platforms initially, where the cost is much lower, and then phase in over time where opportunity arises, where some of those harder costs might be more expensive to incur. So with that, we'll bring back that information as part of the final recommendation on the brand.
Does that answer your question for now, Vicki? All right. Yeah. What I hear staff saying is this is just the design stage. At the point the design is arrived at, it seems worthwhile. We could talk about next steps.
Okay. Yeah, there's no number yet. Okay. For me.
It doesn't have to all happen in 3 months. It might be a rollout over a period of time. Additional questions from colleagues?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Landsberg.
Well, I appreciate the efforts of staff in putting together the staff report. And I do appreciate staff's input on logos, et cetera. But this is an area that the community needs to be involved in. We work for 60,000 people, and they need to have a voice in this process as well. And so when you do develop an ad hoc committee, whether it's by city manager or Mr. Bowen or Mr. Mayor, that you consider having people from the community involved as well. Even though we're the end users of the logo, this is their city as well, and it should have a voice. That's all I have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Landsberg. Additional comments from colleagues?
Mayor Stallard, I'd like to chime in.
Yes, please do, Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
All right, I just want to, Spencer, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm very excited to see this coming to fruition. I know we're initial stages, and I've gone professionally through a few rebranding efforts, and there's a sensible way to do it. You kind of phase out the old logo. You're not going through and spending a bunch of cash on rebranding everything, but certainly coming to that design that is recognized, that it's more modern, is going to be important as we look to inspire and attract businesses to come to Woodland, right? So anybody does a quick Google search, City of Woodland, I mean, there's just all those, at least all of those logos that you showed, Spencer. I think this is a good step forward into really positioning us as what we are, an innovative city that any business would be lucky to set up shop here. So I'm looking forward to that. Once we get to that time, I would love to participate in that subcommittee along with some community involvement, as Councilmember Landsberg mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Anyone else wish to speak? I think everyone's spoken but me. Well, I really believe in branding. I think successful enterprises need to be known, and your brand kind of speaks for who you are, and I think truthfully, in my 11 years, there's never been an effort to comprehensively look at a new logo. Staff has implemented a few things on its own initiative, including that logo you see over the shoulder of Mayor Pro Tem Vega. That was done basically at staff level. I think it's great to kind of shop the proposed logo to citizens to see what they think. But I also don't think a logo should be an animal designed by a committee either. I think it needs to reflect great graphic sensibilities and professionalism. So anyway, I think it's serious business. I think it's time for us to be doing this, and I support the staff recommendation. Additional comments from my colleagues?
We need a motion on this? I didn't see that.
We do need a motion. You want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mayor, I do want to just remind, I don't think we held public comment or checked to see if there was any on this item.
Well, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Is there any member of the public, Madam Clerk, who wishes to comment on the logo discussion issue?
No.
Thank you for verifying that. That's the right thing to do. So we have a motion by Council Member Rich Landsberg. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll
Mayor
second
Pro
that.
Tem-
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, take yours, Tanya. You popped up on the screen here. So we'll take Council Member Tanya Garcia Cadena as the second on this. And we'll now ask for further discussion on the motion. There's no further discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, I actually do have a
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry, Vicky. Council Member Fernandez, please proceed.
So can I clarify, are we going with what's listed on here? So there was a comment made by Mayor Stallard about not having a subcommittee. Does the motion include a subcommittee as stated in the? Yes,
thank you for catching that, Councilmember Fernandez. The motion will include the appointment of a subcommittee. Mayor Pro Tem Vega has spoken up and wishes to be on it. Is there another council member that wishes to be on it as well? Quite honestly, I
nominate Tanya Cadena.
All right. Tanya, are you happy to do that?
Yes, I am happy to serve on that. Thank you.
All right. The final decision will be made by all five of us, but we always appreciate the involvement of the subcommittee. So with Myra and Tanya as a subcommittee, that becomes incorporated in the motion. And I presume that's agreeable to both the first and the second.
Yes.
Mayor, may I just, if any member of the public is watching, I think the motion is also including directing staff to request qualifications from designers that then would be submitted to said subcommittee, just for clarification.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I see in the staff recommendation, right?
Yes.
So the motion is to adopt the staff recommendation with the
Correct.
appointment of the designated council members.
Yes.
All right. You know, this is becoming the motion designed by a committee, but we'll forget that for the moment. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Stallard, I just want to clarify, the motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Was that correct?
No. The motion was made by Councilmember Landsberg, seconded by Tanya Garcia Cadena.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Vega,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena,
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg,
Aye.
Mayor Stallard.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that concludes item 9 for the moment. We're obviously going to be revisiting the issue, and we'll look forward to that. This brings us to the concluding issue tonight, which is the Woodland Research and Technology Park specific plan. And there's no action on this item. It's merely to receive an update on the public review draft and community stakeholder outreach to date, comments received on the draft environmental impact report. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll provide a quick introduction, then hand it over to Erica Bumgarner, our business development liaison, to walk you through the highlights of some of the comments that we've received over the last several months as we've solicited input from the community, not just on the specific plan document itself, but also the environmental impact report. So we thought it was appropriate to, at this milestone, come to council, provide a quick update on where we're at with the project process, provide a summary to the council of the comments that we have received to date, also share the fiscal impact analysis that was recently concluded, which is a normal analysis that is done kind of early on in the plan review process to ensure that the The project that we're proceeding with, if implemented, ultimately would yield a net positive fiscal impact to the city. And if that analysis had concluded otherwise, make adjustments before presenting to council final recommendation. So we'll touch on that a little bit. And then also we're seeking ultimately from the council this evening simply comments or guidance as we move forward into the final phase. So no formal action for the council being requested this evening. It's primarily an update, but we do welcome comments and some direction guidance from the council around as we bring the final documents forward over the next several months. What topic areas or issues do you really want us to hone in on? So with that, let me go through real quick for the council kind of where we've been. In June of 2017, right on the heels of the adoption of the general plan, we received an application for the Woodland Research and Technology Park project, which constitutes what is referred to as SP1A in the general plan document. This process started in earnest after receiving direction from council to proceed with processing the application. In October, we released a presentation to the community around the proposed specific plan and a draft land use plan. And then over the course of the next several months, proceeded to refine that plan, draft a specific plan document, meet with various community stakeholders, and then ultimately released the draft specific plan this past November. We presented to the council the plan as well as the Planning Commission, and then have received public comment throughout the course of the last 8 months, highlighted by 2 virtual webinars that we hosted and received very good attendance, particularly considering the format being new for us. Over 100 people at each one of those community meetings attended virtually, provided great feedback and comments for us, which we then took and posted in a Q&A response to questions on the website, which is still available for review. We then released the draft environmental impact report in May. And then we had a 45+ day comment period on that draft environmental impact report, which closed this past Friday. So we will summarize for the council this evening what is also summarized in the staff report, the comments and some of the key themes that we heard around the project, as well as some of the environmental impact report comments that we'll be addressing as we move forward. So tonight is really that check-in opportunity for the council as we look forward to the next several months before bringing back the final project for consideration. We'll be developing some additional pieces in addition to the refinements to the specific plan. We're preparing a financing plan as well as a development agreement between the city and the developer. We'll also be publishing the proposed plan amendments and as needed, additional public outreach. Our goal is to have final recommendation to the Planning Commission and City Council in the October timeframe. If approved, it will then have to go through local agency formation commission for annexation approval as the property, while it's in the general plan, is not within the city limits. So we anticipate that could happen as early as November of this year. I do want to highlight, we engaged with not just community members, but many community stakeholders, presented to various committees and commissions, including the Planning Commission, the Parks Commission, as well as the Sustainability Advisory Commission. All the Rotaries, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, have received presentations on the project. And then we've had good conversations with our education partners in the community, Woodland Community College. We had conversations around how we could position this project to provide an opportunity for alignment with the academic opportunities at the community college, particularly around career readiness and support educational opportunities at the community college aligned with the research technology type jobs we anticipate within the project. Those conversations will continue and be ongoing, but we believe there's great opportunities and very local as well as useful models of how to align community college programs with local workforce, particularly where we're evolving a new skill set potentially that isn't an existing strength here. And then also with the Woodland Joint Unified School District. We know there's been a lot of conversations around can and will the project accommodate additional elementary school facilities. And we've been in contact with the staff and have a joint subcommittee of the council and the trustees of the school board working through, how and how best to position the project to accommodate a school site if the anticipated enrollment and the funding materializes. And so we'll touch on that in more detail in the presentation and welcome discussion around how that will look as we move forward. Tonight, again, we're not asking council to finalize how we're going to approach that, but certainly acknowledge that there is an important need for us to get some clarity around how we're going to approach the schools in this area of the community and how the project will play a role in ensuring we have the adequate facilities needed. So with that, I will hand it over to Erica, who can provide some summary around the outreach we conducted and how we did that, as well as some of the comments received.
All right, great. Thank you. And good evening, Mayor Stollard, members of council. So I'll pick up here with the outreach slide. So outreach to the community and stakeholder groups, has taken many forms in an attempt to reach as many people as possible that may be interested in the project. So a list of those methods are here, including a variety of mailers, publications in the Daily Democrat, social media posts, email newsletter, project web pages, and FAQs, Ken mentioned, and then the community and commission presentations themselves. Without oversimplifying, I would say that while we've received a lot of great and detailed questions about the project and feedback on certain topic areas, overall feedback has been largely positive, particularly around the technology park and jobs component of the project. So I'll take just a few minutes to summarize the feedback we've received from the community, stakeholder organizations, and the city commissions and committees, and then we'll wrap up with the summary of comments that we just received on the environmental impact report. So starting with the stakeholder organizations, again, we've met with many local and some regional professional organizations representing a variety of industry sectors. As noted in your staff report, feedback received from these organizations was positive, very enthusiastic for the project. We heard comments around the positive economic benefits the research and technology park would have on the community, in particular the opportunity for local professional and career development resulting from the job opportunities in the research park. Partners in the ag, food, and health sectors highlighted the need for this type of facility, this type of development in the region to support the work they are doing and the innovations that can be incubated and deployed out of a facility like this. The project's location was noted, proximity to world-leading research at UC Davis, and then also the existing strengths of the local ag and food economy, making Woodland an ideal location for this project. As we were in the early stages of COVID, we did hear some questions around the need for new office space as folks were kind of shifting to that remote work environment at the time. However, even then, a majority of the feedback supported and encouraged the research and technology campus, where innovations do require in-person and technical facilities. And there was a general recognition, again, of the demand for this type of facility in the region. So now looking at some of the community member feedback we received today. So as Ken mentioned at the start of this year, in February, staff hosted 2 virtual webinar style community meetings to provide a more detailed overview of the specific plan. We did a lot of outreach to get the word out and had a great turnout at each of those meetings, about 100 attendees at both. Through both oral questions and questions submitted through the webinar chat function, we received about 150 questions in total. Staff and the applicant team were able to address most of those questions during the live webinars, but we did also follow on with a frequently asked questions or FAQ page on the project website, synthesizing all of those questions into about 30 categories and responding to each. And we made that FAQ page known again through our social media, email listserv, different outreach channels. We are able to track the number of page hits on the website, and we've seen over 300 hits on the FAQ page. And since the community meetings, we've only received a very small handful of follow-on calls or emails regarding the project since that time. So, without reading into it too much, we think or hope that the FAQ has been a good resource for folks who may still have questions about the project. And we also posted both of those recorded webinars on the website for anyone who was not able to attend the meeting live. So again, we got a lot of great questions during those webinars. The majority of the questions fell into one of 6 categories bulleted on the slide here: housing, sustainable design, circulation, public services and amenities, project timing and financing, and then the provision of a school site in the plan area, as Ken noted. I'll just spend just a minute to delve into a couple of these a little bit further. So around housing, we heard primarily the desire to see more affordable housing and a variety of housing types in the plan area. I also will note that there were a few comments actually coming from the opposite angle that said, "No, we have enough high density housing. We don't need any more apartments in the area." But as council will recall, the plan tries to strike the right balance here and address the need for more affordable housing in the community, which of course is a general plan priority. As a quick refresher, the plan promotes affordable housing opportunities in 2 key ways. First, the project is subject to the city's affordable housing ordinance, which requires a percentage of the units developed to be restricted to support low-income housing development, either in the plan area or in the city. And then perhaps more importantly, the plan includes a variety of densities and housing types through the land planning, zoning, or density requirements. So on this slide, while you may only see 3 residential zones in the land plan, each of those residential zones, the low, medium, and high density zones, or the LDR, MDR, HDR, you see on the map, allows for a variety of housing types and neighborhood design, particularly that medium density zone, which is a great transition zone between your lower and higher densities. It allows for everything from small lot detached units to more contemporary townhome and even 2, maybe 3-story loft or garden style apartments. And over half of the residential area in the plan is zoned for medium and high density housing, which will support those smaller units and lot sizes and allow for some of that built-in affordability by design. So then the next key topic was around sustainability and how the project can and should be a leader in sustainable design practices, and we couldn't agree more. We received a number of recommendations around the use of solar energy, electric vehicle charging stations, tree planting, low water, native landscaping. There are so many great options and economical options out there to reduce the project's carbon footprint. And we will be looking at current sustainability requirements and guidelines in the draft plan to see where we can enhance those in the final document. As currently drafted, all future projects in the plan area must be consistent with the city's climate action plan and support its greenhouse gas reduction targets. And there are several design standards and guidelines in the plan currently that help us reach those targets. But again, we'll be looking to see where and if we can enhance those standards. The next topic category was circulation and infrastructure. I don't know that I can say that there was any particular or standout area of concern on this topic, but we did receive quite a few questions around planned improvements at a variety of intersections, largely those in existence either in Spring Lake or just outside of the plan area. The timing for different improvements. There was a lot of interest in the Greenbelt and bike circulation network, what that would look like, what the timing, how to get engaged in the design aspect. And then more recently, actually, as part of the EIR response to comments, we've had some bike enthusiasts provide specific recommendations on bike lane widths and intersection approaches. So we will be looking at those comments, taking those into consideration as we finalize the plan. We also received some thoughtful comments around storm drain management, and we'll be taking a closer look at those comments as well, which just came in this past Friday. Public services was the next topic area. Again, we received a variety of questions from area maintenance and trash collection to police and fire service. The existing police station at Lincoln and 6th Street is sufficiently sized to provide police service levels through build out of the plan area. And the police department will also provide parking enforcement services in the plan area. Fire station number 3 currently serves the plan area or will serve the plan area, and with either relocation of that station and or a service delivery model assessment, the station will meet the response time standards for the tech park. 5th topic area was around project phasing and timing. Again, this is fairly general. I don't get a sense that there is an area of particular concern, but received a number of questions in this category. Most folks wanting to have a better understanding of, start date, build out date, generally how projects of this nature will get funded. And as the financing plan is being prepared, we will bring that to City Council for consideration with the draft specific plan or the final draft specific plan. And we'll be able to share and articulate in greater detail exactly how the project will be phased and financed. So then lastly, we received a number of comments, some concerns around the provision of a school site in the plan area. A number of Spring Lake residents in particular have expressed concern around the elementary school capacity at Spring Lake Elementary, which is the most proximate neighborhood school in Spring Lake and to the plan area, and whether there would be enough capacity for future student enrollment, anticipating future build out of Spring Lake as well as the tech park. So the desire is really just to have enough capacity for students at schools located within the immediate neighborhood. So city staff, the applicant team, and the school district have been in communication since early stages of plan development, and we will continue to work with the district to identify the timing and funding mechanisms to support an additional elementary school in the plan area. I do want to note that the specific plan does in fact anticipate up to a 10 acre elementary school site, and identifies in Chapter 5, Table 5-9, which is shown here on the screen, actually the preferred location of the school site where students will have access to bike and pedestrian trails, green belts, and where the site is most accessible to both the tech park and the Spring Lake community. While the area is designated medium density residential, the zoning and land use table in Chapter 3 specifically permits and allows a K through 12 school in the zoning district and calls out, again, that preferred location that you see here on the map. So we look forward to the continued discussions with the school district to outline the appropriate developer owner specific plan obligations for the site. And we'll be bringing more information on that forward in the future. Okay, so moving on to presentation from the 3 city review boards.
Erica, sorry. Before you go on, can you go back to that previous slide? Can you I can't visually see it. I don't have a copy of it handy. Where exactly is that 10 acre location? Can you give me the boundaries? I'm sorry, I just can't see it.
Sure, yeah, it's about, I would say in the northern half of the project site, just south of Parkland Avenue, just east of Harry Lorenzo Avenue.
West,
sorry. I'm looking at 2 screens here. Yeah, sorry, west of Harry Lorenzo, south of Parkland.
north of Rhodey.
Mm-hmm.
North of
Rhodey, which is a planned road in the specific plan, more of a collector.
Okay, so Rhodey is not in existence yet, right? So is it beyond Road 25? I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, north of Road 25A, pretty far north of Road 25A.
Thank you, sorry.
Sure. Okay. All right. So staff and the applicant team, again, had the pleasure of meeting or presenting the specific plan to the Woodland Planning Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Sustainability Committee over the past few months. And here again, The feedback from each board was positive and supportive of the plan as presented. Comment from Parks and Recreation Commission centered around the provision of solar panels and facilities consistent with the city's climate action plan, native landscaping, and support and excitement around the Greenbelt and Trail circulation network and the 11-acre linear park as a non-traditional park intended for gathering purposes, which is a little bit different than most of the parks we see out in that area currently. Comments from Sustainability Advisory Committee focused on specific recommendations around some alternative sustainable design measures. Committee expressed appreciation for the plan's consistency with the city's climate action plan and greenhouse gas reduction strategies. And then members from both the Sustainability Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission expressed strong support to see a correlation and balance of non-residential jobs build out in relation to the residential build out, to ensure the plan delivers that needed economic benefit to the community and does not become a quote unquote bedroom community. The Planning Commission also expressed support for the development of the specific plan to date, offering some comments around specific design elements, including gateway elements, enhanced corridor features, and recommendations around some specific uses that we'll be taking into consideration as we finalize the plan in the coming weeks. So just to wrap up on public comment, quick summary of comments on the EIR. Again, the comment period on the draft EIR closed just this past Friday. We received 14 comment letters or emails, 5 of which pertained to providing a school site in the plan area, so expressing similar concern that I just went over. We received 3 comments pertaining to additional sustainability design features and measures to reduce the project's carbon footprint, again, similar to comments noted from the community. We received a handful of comments from community members around a couple of different issues, sort of one-off, again, around bikeability, storm drain infrastructure, transition space between the Spring Lake and Tech Park, a comment on ag land mitigation. Received a fairly detailed letter from a Bay Area attorney representing a labor union, a comment from Caltrans, and lastly, from LAFCO stating that the project is consistent with their policies. So over the coming weeks, we will be working with our environmental consultant, AECOM, and we will be preparing a formal response to comments with the support of staff and other technical consultants. And those responses will be incorporated into the final EIR, and adjustments to the EIR will be made as appropriate, either in the EIR or potentially in the specific plan itself prior to us bringing those documents forward for your consideration. And with that, I will hand it back over to Ken to provide a quick update on the fiscal impact assessment.
Before you do that, I would like to know if you have a provision in there encouraging on-site drainage.
So there are a couple of facilities that will handle on-site drainage. There's a drainage facility at the southern corner of the plan area. I'd have to go to too many slides to get to it. And there's one just south of County Road 25A that will handle storm drain from the project area.
But I hope we have the objective of encouraging on-site drainage throughout the project so that we're minimizing the amount of water that goes out to the storm drain lift stations.
Yeah, Mayor, the project will be subject to the new state requirements that are actually extremely onerous in terms of trying to retain and capture rainfall that falls on a property. There's a very difficult standard now to try to meet, while at the same time trying to maximize density. So if you can imagine the challenge there, but the project will be subject to that. And additionally, there's substantial reference to how to integrate that stormwater retention and recharge on site, and at the same time provide amenities in terms of landscaping and open space.
Thank you. I just hope that we can incorporate on-site drainage within amenities and open space.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's actually imperative now to actually be able to do this cost effectively and utilize land efficiently. So,
thank you.
I have a question, Councilmember Fernandez, please.
Please proceed, Vicki.
Stephanie, thank you for the report. Erica. Sorry. Thank you for the report. I just have a couple questions for clarification before we go on, if you don't mind. Did I understand there was 800 households that were reached? Is that correct? With the flyers about the...
Yeah, so when we held the two community presentations, we actually sent out over 3,000 mailers to both property owners and occupants, if they may not be the owner, in Spring Lake and surrounding the project area. We also have an email listserv of, I think the 800 is a business specific email list. And then we have an email listserv of people who throughout the process have asked to be added to that. So every time we take a presentation to a commission, we also mail out to that listserv as well.
Okay. So my question is, at 800, I thought was the response. You said you had about 100 people attend each of the webinars, which at 12%, if there were only 800, that was like 12.5% people who participated. With having it be 3,000, then the number is even substantially less. So my concern is, how do we reach out? And we're just assuming that because there are no comments made by the public, but if we reached out to 3,000 people and only 100 people attended both of those webinars, how effective are we able to make sure that people or residents are being informed of that? And if they actually have an opinion on the topic, if we only have 100 participants, at a webinar or 100 at another event. So that's kind of my question is, people may move into the area after the February webinars that were provided. Are they able to go on and view those? Are they recorded? Just so that they know that they have access to that information, because it doesn't sound like we got too many people participate. So I just wondered if there's something that we can do to maybe make sure that we have access to everyone.
Yeah, no, I think those are great comments and fair comments. We do have both of those February community presentations on the project webpage on the website. So anybody can go back at any time and review those. And we intentionally were very detailed, probably about a 45-minute, 50-minute presentation to go through all aspects of the plan. So that's a good opportunity. We also have the FAQs, which again, consolidated a lot of those comments. We have some contacts with some community members who have offered to share social media posts in like the Spring Lake neighborhood and others that as we push them out to try to expand that reach. I totally get that out of 3,000 mailers, only 100 people, attended. But in terms of at least my experience with community meetings, that's a pretty good turnout. It's certainly not everybody, but we think it was, pretty well attended for a meeting like this.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. So they have access to it in case they want to view it and if they've moved into the area after those meetings. So thank you. Just wanted to clarify that for anyone who might be viewing it so they still have access to that information. Thanks.
And Councilmember Fernandez, I will point out that we do also have two very large project signs sort of right on the edge of the proposed project site facing towards Spring Lake, so that anybody, moving into the neighborhood, if they didn't happen to catch that notice, hopefully will notice those signs and their interest will be piqued. So it'll drive them to the city's website where we have all the documents as well as the webinars.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ken, are you going to wrap the presentation?
Let me quickly wrap up, touch a little bit about the fiscal impact analysis that we performed. Naturally, one of the other important pieces of information for the city to understand is, if implemented, will this project have positive or negative or neutral fiscal implications for the city? And when I talk about fiscal implications, we really focus just around the general fund impact. It's assumed that all other utility enterprise funds, things like that, are going to be covered through user fees and connection fees. And so our main focus in analyzing the fiscal implications for the project is centered around the general fund impact, which is our most, of course, vulnerable revenue stream, and one that, as you know, going through the budget process, looking forward, has some challenges before us. So we hired Bay Area Economics, who has done a substantial amount of fiscal analysis for the city as well as most of the cities in the region. They were also our consultant who helped us develop a fiscal impact model when we were negotiating the tax sharing agreements with the county. And so we engaged BAE to help us run that model, use the inputs from the project, identify what the service population impacts would be on services, again, primarily that rely on our general fund revenues to support them, to ultimately identify what our net fiscal condition would be. In conclusion, the full memo is attached to the staff report. It's available on the website, but not to get into too much detail. It does conclude that at full build out, and it assumes a 20 to 25 year build out horizon, the project would yield a net fiscal surplus to the city of $740,000 per year. Primary form of the revenues that will come from the project, of course, just like our general fund budget, will come from property tax as well as some sales tax and transit occupancy tax, as there is some hotels anticipated in the project. On the expenditure side, the heaviest load on our general fund discretionary funds is in the public safety category. About 70% of the expenditures that were in the fiscal model are used to go towards future public safety costs. And so that would come in the form of not the capital side, but additional public safety resources in terms of additional police officers, administrative support for police, as well as fire department. We performed a sensitivity analysis because, as you've heard from prior city manager, who is, probably one of the best municipal finance for people in the state of California, that, these fiscal models are not, trying to point to a specific answer, and they're always off or wrong. We need to help understand where the model as well as the project will be sensitive to various alternative outcomes. In this case, we looked at several different things, but most notably, what happens if the project proceed absent any policies that will dictate or development agreement provisions in a manner where the housing builds out, but the commercial, which generates more cost per service or more revenue rather to service cost than the housing. If that didn't keep pace with the housing, what would happen to the city's general fund fiscal condition? As a result, it concluded that we would remain fiscally neutral if all of the housing in the project were built and only 15% of the non-residential development materialized. So that gives you a sense of how sensitive the project will be towards needing to find that right balance of housing and job, just purely from a fiscal standpoint. So again, that helps inform us as we start to go into the development agreement phase, how we want to be sensitive to developing policies around ensuring that the jobs materialize at pace with the housing. Additionally, want to point out that the tax sharing agreement that we successfully negotiated with the county was the foundation of the model. The tax sharing agreements in terms of property tax benefit to the city was substantially more favorable than some of the more recent tax sharing agreements, which ultimately helps provide some of the net positive outcome that we anticipate at full build out. That city's share of the underlying property tax that we get to fight over here locally after the state takes and the special districts takes theirs is just shy of 25% of the 1% property tax. So of that 25%, the tax sharing agreement provided that the city would receive 16.5%, with the county getting the balance of that. compared to Spring Lake and some of the other recent annexations where the city's share of that property tax was as low as 8% of that 24. So almost double the property tax that the city gets to use to cover the cost for services. I also want to point out that we had the analysis perform under the assumption that a CFD would be used to pay for the maintenance of parks, the green belts, as well as the street lighting, similar to Spring Lake, where there's a landscaping and lighting assessment district. The tech park would have a CFD to help cover the city's costs for providing park maintenance, greenbelt maintenance, as well as street lights. So those costs do not actually show up in the fiscal impact analysis because it's assumed it will be covered through a CFD that will be required on the project. So next slide, Erica, just to kind of reiterate two remaining pieces of important information that we will bring forward with the final draft or final specific plan document with the final environmental impact report will be a project financing plan. So the financing for the infrastructure necessary to build out this plan area needs to be carefully analyzed and developed. Now that we have the infrastructure pieces identified and cost being developed for what will cost to build that public infrastructure, we'll work with the developer to outline a financing plan that will allow that infrastructure to be built in phases over time, learning some of the lessons from Spring Lake as to how to do that well, and maybe ways to avoid, not doing it as complicated as some of these other projects. The tech park does have the benefit of having fewer property owners in a much smaller area, and substantially less infrastructure that it needs to finance to complete its build out. And then the last component will be a development agreement. Again, this will be a development agreement between the city and the developer that will outline provisions that provide both certainty for the city as well as the developer, and address issues such as timing of availability of access to land for the school district to make a decision around acquisition of a school site to serve build out of Spring Lake as well as the tech park. It'll address issues such as contributions towards offsite infrastructure, potentially amenities such as the second aquatics complex, or contribution towards ongoing operations and maintenance of those types of facilities. And then on the developer side, provide some certainty for them as to what milestones they need to achieve in order to progress with development and build out. So that concludes staff's presentation. Mr. Mayor, I'll give it back to the council for questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. I think before we go back to council, though, it might be good to see if there are any public comments pending. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments yet?
Mayor Stallard, I do have 4 emails I've received.
With colleagues, if it's without objection, we'll proceed to hear the public comments. I see no objections. Please proceed with the 4 emails.
Thank you. We need a school in the plans for the business park. It doesn't make sense to bring families to Spring Lake and not put enough schools in the area. Brenda Trotman.
Second.
Good evening, City Manager Hyatt, Mayor Stallard, and council members. I would like to submit my public comment in regard to the Woodland Research and Technology Park Draft Environmental Impact Report, EIR. My main concern, the formal inclusion of a school in the land use and zoning maps of the Woodland Research and Technology Park specific plan. I and others in the community have been in communication with City and Woodland Joint Unified School District staff, council, and the school board since 2018, raising a red flag over the lack of planning for the elementary age children in the Spring Lake and future tech park area. I have attached a petition with signatures, 177 as of July 2nd, comments and detailed supporting evidence. Please take the time to review the petition and you will see Woodland is in dire need of elementary schools. And while the district works out the details of financing, we must have the land use and zoning for a school settled. All efforts should be made to allow the district time to plan, negotiate, finance, and construct the school, as it is critical to a healthy and vibrant community. I would like to express the positive aspects of pursuing neighborhood schools from the city's perspective. I understand that the district is a separate entity from the city, but the impacts of supporting them in every manner necessary to achieve the necessary facilities in newly developing parts of Woodland will benefit the entire city. The current WRTP land use plan, Exhibit 2-1 map, does not show a school or public, quasi-public PQP for a school on the map. Instead, there is an exhibit in Chapter 5, Public Utilities and Services, on page 210 that shows a possible school site location on what has a land use of medium density residential, MDR. This conflicting / overlapping land use causes confusion to the public developers, public/developers, diminishes the likelihood of critical fails to meet requirements of 2035 general plan housing mix if the overlapping MDR is removed / reduced when the school comes to be and confuses the planning / design of the location. The district and the school board have expressed reticence since Woodlanders' expectations of a school actually coming to be in the WRTP. It will be challenging, but it's what we need and what, as a community, we must pursue with zeal. We must show our intentions boldly and in plain view, both in maps, supporting documentation, EIR, and evidence of the elementary schools need to the community in order to negotiate a fair developer agreement. This approach will ensure Woodlanders have what they need when the WRTP is complete. The student yield rates tables 3.12-5 of the EIR show the WRTP alone will need to accommodate 376 K through 6 students. The draft EIR fails to address the Spring Lake community's student yield rates, which according to the attached petition study, attachment 4, addendum 1, Cooperative Strategies 2020 will need to accommodate 944 K through 6 students. That's 1,320 K to 6 students in the WRTP and Spring Lake area with a single open enrollment, not a neighborhood school where kids in the area are guaranteed a spot like most other Woodland.
Quite a bit over 3 minutes at this point.
Yes. I have sent this email to all council members, so I can either continue reading or.
I think we've all received that email. Thank you. Please read the third one.
Thank you. The third one. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on proposed new research tech park. I have 2 main comments and they both relate to climate change. If it was not already clear, the past 2 weeks have highlighted the need to act and reduce emissions rapidly. Whatever we build going forward must be part of an aggressive solution. First, electrification. Important to switch rapidly from fossil fuel to clean electricity. 2 is for our energy at 47%, mainly building efficiency and renewable energy. The transportation and land use goal has a number of strategies, but the most impactful as relates to GHG emissions is elimination of fossil fuel. Hire all new buildings, all to be such as labs and commercial kitchens. All electric homes not only emit less GHG, but they cost less to build and are better for indoor air quality. Ask also that there is a focus throughout on non-fossil fuel transportation infrastructure, from EVs to pedestrian walkways and everything in between. Second, visibility of the Climate Action Plan, CAP, and related goods. Throughout the RTP plan and the council report, consistency with the CAP is mentioned. However, in neither the council packet nor the Research Park website is there a link to the CAP or the 5-page executive summary. The executive summary is quite easy to read and has a nice pie chart of the overall goals. I request that at least the 5-page executive summary be added to the Research Park website and be included in council reports on this going forward. I do appreciate that the Planning Commission and Sustainability Committee have looked at this Research Park plan. However, I think having CAP info along with fiscal and other documents included for the council helps everyone, council and public, have the climate goals in mind and realize their importance. Thank you, Christine Shoemaker.
All right, thank you to our commenters. Your comments are part of the record. Oh, thank you. Proceed.
Thank you. This public comment is intended for item number 10, Woodland Research and Technology Park Specific Plan. Greetings, City Council members. I want to take a moment and add my voice of support to the inclusion of a school in the zoning map for the Tech Park Specific Plan. I think that a public school is vital to a thriving community and too important to leave as an optional future item. I am one of the fortunate members of the community to be able to send children to Spring Lake Elementary. Not only do my kids bike to the school on the Greenbelt every day, but it has allowed us to build strong relationships with our neighbors. When my wife and I considered buying a home, a huge factor in our decision was the proximity to a future public school. We have not been disappointed by the amazing quality of the school, and we want this possibility for all young families that choose to move to the new Tech Park area. As you consider the revisions to the Tech Park specific plan tonight, I would be really interested to hear the rationale behind making the zoning of a school a future option as opposed to zoning it for school use now. I would assume that the multifamily homes would also need to be moved if a school zoning replaces them on the map. I am curious to know what will happen, the units planned for the area if a school is put in its place. Will this be shifted somewhere else on the map or simply removed? I know that there are plenty of competing interests for the area, but I hope that the city will signal its support of public schools by zoning the land for school use on the plan. With appreciation, Eric Garber.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And again, thank you to all those who've commented. You're part of the record. I think you've noticed from the presentation tonight that a school is planned for the area at the request of the school district. Although everything is preliminary at this point because we haven't even annexed the land. So there's no permanent zoning in place. When there is, we'll take care of a school along with other uses. Colleagues, we'll come back to you now. Are there any comments from members of the council on this issue, this item?
Mayor.
Yes, please proceed.
I just want to thank staff and the city manager and those involved in the planning of this. I see Mr. Hodgson's also attending tonight. I like the progress. It's a bit slow, but at least it's progress as we move this tremendous project along. That's my comment on the project. I do want to address the number of people who are concerned about the school site. And I have a question that may be answered by Eric or perhaps Ken. Under 5.12, we understand that the school district owns a 20-acre plot by Pioneer High School with 2 acres that may be dedicated to our aquatic park. And then the article indicates that the district has requested that the specific plan identify an alternative site for an elementary school. Is that a signal that they may want to do something different with the remaining 18 acres? Or is that a separate school, if we know?
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, so my understanding in talking with the district is they want to retain the 18 acres south of the high school for future middle school use. However, they do acknowledge that there is no funding on the horizon to be able to construct that school. And when we approach them with a question around, do we need additional land set aside within the tech park to provide for future school needs? Initially there was some question around whether they could accommodate the K through 6 students on a future, call it a K-8 campus. Ultimately, the district said that they would prefer to have a site within the tech park, partially due to its geographic location and proximity to households, but also to provide future flexibility for the district to build a traditional middle school property there. So at this point, I don't have any indication that the district has other plans for that remaining 18 acres south of Pioneer.
Mr. Manager, excuse me, Jay or Anna, could we remove, please, the agenda screen and allow a gallery view of the council for this discussion? Thank you. All right, let's continue. Any additional questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Landsberg. Any other member of the council have questions at this time or comments?
Mayor Stollard, I do.
Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
Thank you so much. So some of the messages that I've been getting via email and then calls from folks out in District 5 have been around consternation over this plan not accommodating the school. Something that was clear to me in tonight's presentation is that it is part of this plan, that there is an opportunity and the land available for the build out of the school. Now I have the packet here, and I've noticed some inconsistencies in the map. So we saw the land use zoning map, and some of these pages has a school site, sometimes it does not. So I can see how that raises some concerns over it, and maybe concerns over a bait and switch or last minute change. As we are in the process right now, is there a possibility for that site to be taken away through the development agreement and it be completely scratched off the plan for the school?
Well, I mean, first of all, the land use map and the supporting description of land use, as Erica pointed out, does accommodate and allow for a K through 12 school to be built on up to 10 acres in that medium density location. We can certainly add to that land use map, a similar diagram or notation that future possible school site there to be clear. The other exhibit that was in the PowerPoint presentation is further back in the document under the public services section. So we can do that. There is, if the district decides that it doesn't want a school site there, right, the map doesn't have to change. Our intention all along was to avoid some of the unrealized expectations that the Spring Lake residents experienced when the original specific plan document identified multiple school sites, and then ultimately those were removed over time. And you can see where residents, where they bought their home and anticipated a public school to be built on the map because it said public, semi-public. So to sort of counter some of that, our recommendation was, well, let's just have the map identify the underlying land use to allow a school, but have the map itself provide for residential. And then within the development agreement, which will be a binding agreement between the city and the developer, require that the developer set aside up to 10 acres at that location to the district under a first right of refusal for them to be able to have sufficient time through build out of the plan to be able to make an informed decision as to whether the school site will be needed and when they will be able to deliver that. Hopefully mitigating some of the expectations of the neighbors as to when and if, and maybe it gets decided by the district in the future that the school is not needed. So that was our intention, and we realize there's some nuances there. The plan absolutely does accommodate in a plan for a school. The development agreement will give the city the ability to impose on the developer the obligation to provide that site to the district. And then the school district and the developer will have to work out an agreement as to terms for acquisition of the property, as well as the fees that the project will contribute towards build out of the school, timing of how those fees will be paid, and the manner in which they'll be collected. And so all of those details are yet to be finalized, and understand that the community and the neighborhood would like to have all of that settled today, but there's still a fair amount of uncertainty around enrollment projections and how to finance the school that we didn't want to necessarily, box in the school district to say you have to, build a school here at this site, only to find that the students did not materialize or the funding is not necessarily in place. And so we thought it was a good balance of flexibility, but also providing certainty to the district to be able to have sufficient time to make that decision.
And certainly, you know, what I want to make sure that so the district currently is in conversations with the developer around what a framework for the agreement that would work. Am I understanding that correctly?
Certainly, we've outlined in a joint meeting, right, preliminary sort of approach to how we could sort of balance this level of uncertainty with certainty for all parties. The developer, as my understanding, is having direct conversations now with the district around how to potentially refine or approach that. We will continue to, you know, what I like to call is facilitate those discussions. Ultimately, it's not our responsibility to build a school, it's the district's. And the developer certainly acknowledges the benefit of having a school in the project, but that benefit is only realized, right, if the school is built before the project's completed, because after the project's completed, you know, there's no benefit to the developer. So, yeah, we'll continue to sort of press this issue, and before the projects, before the council final consideration, it's our goal to have that development agreement worked out to provide the district the time they need, and work out an agreement with the developer sufficient to decide how and when to build a school there.
Okay, thank you. And that meeting, that initial framework was, I think, a good start. I'm happy to know that those conversations are continuing. I think will be happy to inform residents who are concerned about the plan not incorporating a school site. That's not the case. It is at this point. We're on par with including them as part of the project. And I know that there's a desire to have assurance today, but just understanding the complexity of the project, we don't have it there. But that wanted to bring that up. I think if we can have consistency in the maps and this draft EIR, that matches the language. I mean, I read all of the context relating to the school sites, definitely there. There's a land use regulations, chapter 3 talks about all the different uses. It's there. I'm just wondering if it wouldn't just be reasonable to make it consistently standard across the map, so we're not showing different maps. One other question around the displacement of when the school is built, should the school be built, what happens to those MDR units that were identified in that area?
So if the district were to opt to build a school there, we'll call it 10-acre school site, would accommodate normally 10 to 15 units per acre, I believe, Erica, on the medium density, maybe it's 15. So it's 150 units that now need to get distributed in the remaining residential development area. And that includes within the mixed use components of the project, there's provision for a portion of the commercial areas to have residential integrated into a mixed use development format. So essentially that would give the developer, some flexibility to accommodate those 150 units in other areas of the plan, again, being conscious of not exceeding the max density within the project. So I think they can be easily redistributed without losing housing yield out of the project.
Okay. And one last comment just around ongoing communication. So I'll have to drive down next time I'm out to see those signs, because I noticed the big sign that was on 25A got blown away kind of right on that side. So I do, Vicki, to your point, just having that presence there in case people are interested in learning more. As I've noticed from some of the chatter on social media, it's cyclical. I think as folks come into the community or there's conversations in the neighborhoods, it generates an interest. So just ensuring that we can direct people that are interested in learning more detail or watching those webinars, we can easily point them to the information. And then additionally, as I recently engaged in conversations around Spring Lake and the Community Facilities District. I'm understanding that the real estate community, they provide information to potential buyers. So how do we communicate to the real estate community, if at all, kind of what is going on in the area, as there's a lot of activity with real estate, and just informing, arming them with information around what the plans are for this project, so that they're able to kind of inform potential buyers in this area?
Yeah, it's a good question. We presented to the Board of Realtors in the past, and I believe Mr. Hodgson most recently presented to them this spring, but we can continue to work through the Board of Realtors and ensure that their agents are well informed. I think maybe one other missing piece, we might want to actually work with some of the home builders out in Spring Lake, since a lot of those home builders actually do direct sales. So we can go to their sales offices and ensure that they have project information available, and their staff is well informed as to what the project is and where to get more information.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Some of them still have offices out that I've seen some traffic be generated out of there. Okay, that'll be all. City Manager Hyatt, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mayor Stollard, you're on mute.
Thank you again. Councilmember Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor Stollard. I just want to clarify with Ken, the 10-acre site is for school site K through 8, correct?
The zoning actually allows or speaks to a K through 12 being allowed there. I think the intention would be naturally not to build a high school or a middle school there, but the desire from the district is to consider it for an elementary school site. And we might actually want to expand that to say pre-K through 12. I don't think that was intentional to leave pre-K off. But.
Okay, and just to support the residents of Spring Lake, I think that it's maybe not directed at any specific entity, but I think the disillusion of community members in Spring Lake who bought homes with the hope that their children would attend a community school, a neighborhood school, vanished for many families. You only have a certain amount. Time is precious when you have a child. You only have them school age from 5 to 18. So for many residents, I think it's difficult to realize that their children never had that opportunity to attend a neighborhood school. And so I can understand that they are concerned that if we promise or mention that we're going to provide something for their children, and if they purchase a home in our community, that we keep to our word, that we provide. And I realize it's not our responsibility, but if the district has students within our community, that we have an obligation to make sure that residents are not misled in any way, and that they don't have to wait an entire school age lifetime to have their child miss that opportunity. So they've had to, transport their children either to another school site or to Davis because it didn't happen for them. So I can understand where their frustration may be coming from. So I just want us to take note of that, and that the constant advocacy from them is because I feel they saw what happened before, and I think that they want to make sure that it doesn't happen again to any other community member who purchases a home in Woodland and who doesn't have that opportunity. And when we have a climate action plan that advocates for biking, for walking, for green belts that are going to create less emission of gas, that we keep to that model to make sure that we have schools that are within walking distance, that children are able to bike and have that luxury to have that neighborhood and community that we so much need and have missed throughout this pandemic. And I realize that Research Park isn't going to be built anytime soon, but I think that those families who are purchasing homes want that reassurance for their children, that if they do purchase in Woodland, that we are going to make sure that that opportunity isn't lost for their child. So I just want to make note of that. And the second thing is affordable housing. Can I clarify, is it still 10% affordable housing for low income for developers? And will that continue in the research park area?
Correct. Yeah, the project will be required to comply with the city's affordable housing ordinance, which does require 10% of the for sale units to be affordable, as well as, Erica, keep me honest on this, 15% for medium and high density.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, I probably want to triple check what the breakdown is if you go all like very low versus low. So yeah, Councilmember Fernandez, I can follow up on that.
I think in former meetings, I think it was 10% that we said was low income, but or at least in years past. So I just want to make sure, I know we've had this discussion in the past that the city has opted to take in lieu fees from developers and has used the funding for other projects which are valuable in our community, who have been able to provide for the homeless Beamer Street shelter area and have been able to provide other resources. But again, I would just like to reiterate that affordable housing for low income families within the Spring Lake area or within the research and tech park is important, that we have a diverse population. Socioeconomic variance within our community is viable. So when we look at building out this research park, that we not exclude families who are low income, and that we are providing accessible housing for and affordable housing within that research park. I think there's lots of amenities that every community member deserves. So I'm impressed with all the work that the staff has done and all the work that you've gone on in planning this. But I hope that as a community that we ensure that it's accessible to everyone, whether you're low income or you're wealthy. So I want to just reiterate that we try to provide those resources and availability to our community members. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fernandez. Any additional council comment?
I do, Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Garcia Cadena.
So I just want to clarify. So the district is looking to acquire the land from the developer. Is that correct? They would acquire that land directly?
Right. Yeah. Traditionally, when new developments are planned, lands is made available for a district to decide if they want to acquire the land to build necessary school facilities to serve that growth area. In this case, the project plans anticipate up to 10 acres to be available to the district, and the details as to timing of how long they have to make a decision to move forward with acquisition of that property will be worked out, but again, as part of the final actions before the project's approved.
Okay, and would the city at any point assist with that acquisition? Is that something that we've done in the past? Is that something we can do?
I'm not aware of when the city has assisted the school district in the past with acquisition of land for school facilities here, nor actually in any other community. And on the flip side, the city recently acquired property from the district and paid fair market value to acquire the future fire station site, as well as paid fair market value for the lease for the 2 acres south of Pioneer. So I think it's traditional that, cities and school districts pay for, land for those facilities, but it's not to say that the city, couldn't be part of that solution if that's a priority that the council has.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, council, have we all had our say here? Okay, I have opinions and thoughts too, but I think enough has been said tonight on this. I feel we've just discharged our duty under the item on the agenda tonight. We've had a thorough report. presentation, we've had public comment, and we've had council comment. So, Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, is there more comment?
There's a hand raised, Jake Wicker.
All right. Well, we hadn't finished our public comment, but we'll make an exception here and give him his 3 minutes. Please proceed, Mr. Willard.
Jake, can you?
Yeah, no, it's Mr. Whitaker.
Jay, it's our school board president speaking.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I apologize. I missed the public comment period, but as the conversation was ongoing, I kind of just wanted to chime in a little bit here and just say, that we had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Hogsden earlier today. Myself and my colleagues and the superintendent. And I did just want to say, to this conversation about whose responsibility it is to build a school or to support the construction of a school, that I would just say that I have a bit of a different perspective, which is that I think the thing that unites us as public servants is that we are all committed to doing everything that we can to improve the quality of life for our community. And I certainly agree that includes building a neighborhood school out in that area. And I think that in the long term, that's something that we will need to do. Now, based on the developer's fee study, which was completed in April of 2020 and updated, of course, to fit with this tech park development, we're looking at a construction cost of building an elementary school out there with the massive inflation that's been going on in the cost of building things. And particularly in school construction, which tends to be heavily impacted by inflation. We're looking at a cost to build an elementary school site out there in the ballpark of $40 to $45 million. And if you tack on the cost of purchasing the land, that's an additional estimated $3 million. That brings it up to possibly $48 million. And when you look at the projected revenue from the tech park developer fees, which are currently approved as part of the, what is statutorily required, that would cover about 37.5% of the total project cost. And so we have been, engaged seriously, and we'll be engaging with a financial advisor, just to explore different options as to how we're going to approach the financing of a massive infrastructure project like this. But I would just say that, this idea that, the city will approve a development and then it's like, to the school district, it's like, okay, well, good luck with that. I would like to see us work together and collaborate effectively. And I think that we have been doing so far. But, I think that should be the goal, not necessarily assigning responsibility to one organization or the other, because we all have a shared common interest in improving the quality of life in our community and providing, the necessary amenities and infrastructure needed to support this new development. So that's just my perspective on it. I just wanted to share that with the council. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Jake. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so that concludes public comment once again. And I think our council has all had our say on this. Are we ready to conclude our meeting tonight? If so, we'll move on to adjournment. I'd like to ask my council colleagues to join me in adjourning in memory of Reverend Clarence Jefferson. Reverend Jefferson was the pastor at the Second Baptist Church for many years here in Woodland, a beloved figure. He participated in our Martin Luther King Jr. commemorations and a wonderful, wonderful contributor to our community. Also, we lost Deacon Jull at the Holy Rosary Parish Church after 30 years of public service. So I'd respectfully ask that we adjourn the memory of Reverend Jefferson and Deacon Jull tonight. With that, we're adjourned. We'll see you in 2 weeks, folks. Good night.